Welcome, everybody. Look at this AMULETS graphic. You can't see our faces, but you see an AMULETS graphic. Are you ready? Look who we have today. Randall Taylor. Everybody can see Randall's face now. Hey, Randall. Hey, AMULETS. Lightbath on this side. I'm going to turn the music down because we won't be able to hear you. In fact, here. Yeah, there we go. Hey, how's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Oh, man. I'm great. I'm so excited that we're doing this because one of my patrons said, hey, there's no patch notes for cathartic pressure waves. Do you want to, like, make a video and talk about that? And he was just saying, like, you know, the Q&A videos, like the creative mentorship Q&A videos that I was doing. He was saying, like, doing one of those. And then I thought, and he's on right now, and he just commented, here, wait, how do I know there's a way for me to add, did I just do it? There's a way for me to add his, there. Hey, folks, he says. So, thanks to Scott for that. Yeah.
Scott.
So, yeah, and I was just like, why don't I just reach out to Randall and just see if he wants to get on? We can do a live stream here and talk about it in real time.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's funny, the idea of, like, patch notes. You're like, well, I mean, for you, that's like, you're like, oh, yeah, patch notes. I'm like, what does patch notes mean for me? I'm like, I don't really fucking know, but, like, I can talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, it's patch notes. You know, it's
all patched together.
because I mean, we're probably not even going to talk about much routing, you know, signal flow or anything like that, maybe. But really, what we're going to talk about here is the creative process, like how we made this piece. I want to know what your suitcase or drone is, and you can go as detailed as you want to on this. Seriously, I'm cool to go as tech as you want, but I will also respect your tech boundaries of how much you want to show and how much you might not want to. Because when I look at it, here, everybody, let's look at the image. Let's just jump in right now on that. This suitcase of drone. When you look at this thing, you're like, okay, there are some unnamed pedals in here that have, like, tops ripped off of them.
I think that's a lot of it, of, like, trying to customize things and make it my own and, like, you know, add some kind of, I don't know, artistic flair to it. Like whether I glue something on a pedal or tape something, I'm like, oh, that was mine.
It's an art piece. That's what I saw. Especially, I love the rock and play that's on the left with this, like, mountainous, the moon and some stars. It's like the desert or something.
People are always like, yo, what's that weird moon thing? Is that custom? I'm like,
Yeah.
It's kind of custom. It's also, like, a piece of junk from, like, the early 90s. So, like,
so to bring back, so I've got the image back up of the case, or of the suitcase. And we're talking about, you know, making these things your own. And really, the pedal board that I used that day is the same kind of situation. Here, everybody, take a look at this. Randall took this photo of me when we were jamming that day, and that's what I was plugged in through, but I was only using a couple of pedals on there. But you can see, like, is that the Super Ego, Randall?
Yes.
That has such cool something on it. It's like, you know, collage, kid's face.
The Super Ego, yeah.
And,
yeah, my friend sent me that, and, like, it was like a weird thing they had made, and I, like, cut it up and put it on the Super Ego, yeah.
Yeah. Part of me wants to do that with Eurorack, but there's just no room. Because, pedals, fortunately, have a lot more negative space. Physical
they have a lot more things to play with, for sure.
So, yeah,
like,
I don't think Eurorack...
Like, every time I do that, too, I just, like, use, like, tape or whatever. I don't, like, glue it down to make it permanently, like, there. Yeah. So I can change it if I get bored.
Right.
So I just, yeah.
I probably end up selling Eurorack too often. I have a feeling that you don't sell a lot of your stuff, like, as often as I do with Eurorack, probably.
I mean, I have more of a problem where I, like, hoard a lot of shit.
Yeah.
You, like, look around. This is, like, one wall of room, and it's filled. This room is filled. I do have a problem selling things. Like, I enjoy the gas of, like, selling and buying and trading, and, like, but then also, like, I also have a problem with just make more is more is more, and I just keep collecting, which you know, which like in that photo, we were in my old studio, and that was a much smaller room, and that was packed. And I have moved since, and I have a new studio in my house, and this room is bigger, and it's still packed. So, you know, it's fine.
Hey everybody, every time I switch images, the audio cuts out. Confirm that. More technicals here, but I think, I don't know if I can fix that this time. But hey, so, you know, why don't we even just jump into this cathartic pressure waves dealy? Because my idea here is, if we talk about this, give our patch notes for this, we're going to start to get a feel of how you work. And some of it I want to talk about the guitar, because this is like the only piece I've released as Lightbath with guitar playing on it. And before I was Lightbath, I was a guitar player. Like, that was my thing. Before I discovered modular synthesizer, I was a guitar player. So this is like the only time I've played guitar in the last few years, you know.
It was exciting. You were like telling me about I used to teach guitar and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, you know how to play guitar. Look at you. You actually know a lot about guitar. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like, it was a big part of my life, and then I just kind of left it. And part of that was because of tendonitis. But and by the way, this is actually my guitar, everybody. I don't have a telly. I love tellies, and I would love a telly, but at this point, I don't really have a need for more than one guitar. You know, it's like, I'm not even playing this one. But I actually like the sound of yours a little bit more. But did yours have P90 pickups on it too?
I have one that has P90s, and then I have another one that has it doesn't. But yeah, I have two Telecaster. I think the one you played had P90s.
I played the thin line.
Yeah, that has the P90s.
Okay, yeah. So P90s are great, but they're very mid-rangey, and I sometimes want that like brighter snap, and I just can't get it out of this guitar. But okay, so by the way, everybody, anyone who's put in the comments in here, we're going to at some point open up a Q&A where we're paying good close attention to the comments. Otherwise, the ones that are coming in, I encourage you to comment, but we're going to catch what we catch as we're talking about stuff. But then when we do a Q&A, we're going to pay attention a little bit more. So let's see, turn off the audio filter. I think that was a joke, right? Yeah, okay. So we have
but I will. Tasks have skyrocketed in price.
That's what I just saw. I was gonna say.
I don't disagree with that, and like, I'm aware of that, and it sucks for me too, because I played myself. Like, if I want another Tascam, I'm like, wow, they're really fucking expensive. I'm like, whose fault is that?
I remember when I reached out to you for like a recommendation, and that was basically, this was like two or 3 years ago, and you were like, yeah, well, you know, I used to be able to get them for this, but here's this. And
then some guy named AMULETS came along and like really fucked it all up. I'm like,
and they say on here, and blank forms. Believe it or not, when I was in New York and I was teaching, blank forms taught for the music lessons company that I had started. He was one of the composition teachers, so I know him from before, which is really neat. But hey, so if we were to talk about this, let's start. So this day we got together, and it was the last day I was going to be in Portland. Do you remember that? And we're like, we got to have a session, we got to make it happen. And so I showed up like, I don't know, like late morning or noon, like around this time Pacific or so. And I just remember once we got to playing, did we have lunch first, or did we have lunch in the middle, or lunch after?
In the middle, because we were like we were like messing around.
So I got in, I set up everything, which was a lot. I brought my lights, I brought my modular, even though that didn't turn into anything because we had sort of another technical difficulty. But so I remember being like, you were like, hey, let's pick a key. Yeah. And so I was like, 2 sharps, because D is like my favorite thing, you know. Here, wait, let me get some audio here. Oh, that would be the song. There. So yeah, I was just like, D is my comfort zone, and I still don't have audio, and I wonder if I need to do that. That's all I need to do. Okay, so I was like D, and it ended up being, you know, B minor, you know, obviously. But like D just feels so good, and it's just like this. If I had one guitar chord that is my favorite guitar chord, it's this one. It's a D over A with the F sharp down there. I have pitch stuff on right now, so it's not that. But so I plug into Randall's Pedalboard, and I recognize some friends in it. I'll bring the image up again. By the way, Randall, I figure we'll start with my part here because your part's going to be way more exciting than the guitar part. So we'll start with this. So I was like, good, there's a rat, which I'm pointing to in the picture, because that's what I used when I was playing. It was like rat, and I have a DD5 pedal. Randall has a DD6 in there on the right side. You see it? It's on the left side of the pedal board. It's the right side of the photo. And then I was just like, what else do you have in here? What's this thing with the face on it that we were talking about? And it turns out that thing can do pitch. And I was like, this is perfect, because what I do with modular is like I can play one note and it turns into two. So I put a fifth on it, like a fifth up. And I think that's all I used. I used the volume pedal because always. And that was it. And so I then was like, all right, what am I going to play? And I don't remember. I just remember us doing like 20 takes of.
We did a bunch of takes,
and we just kept going, and it kept it kept developing more and more. And I don't remember if in the beginning I had this idea, but this was basically. I want to get it here. I'll put it full screen me for a second so we can. So the idea was this. That's just like the beginning of the idea, without the. I can't easily take off the fifths, but it's just like it's power chords, right? It's like an E power chord, a B power chord, and a D power chord. But I've got a fifth on these notes, so the notes ends up being an additional F sharp on top of the E power chord, right? So you end up getting a second, basically an octave up on all these power chords. So the B power chord has a C sharp on it, the C power chord has an E on it. So it makes these stacked fifths, and it just sounds really cool. And then I just changed it to make a second phrase, right? I go up to G, and then ended back on that. And so, Randall, here we go. So then you came in with, you had chosen some tapes. You had chosen some loops. Take it away. Tell us what happened.
One thing, like the sun is like really just like cutting in my eyes right now. I'm gonna just.
Well, it looks beautiful. So, but do what you need.
Like I told you, it's like a weirdly sunny day here. So
yeah, really.
I'm not used to that.
It's Portland. It's sunny. Yeah. How's that happen?
Sunny Portland. Winters in Portland. They're known for their sun. So okay. So for my part, I mean. With our song, I definitely had like a couple ideas that were already like on tape of like just pre-recorded loops of like, okay, I know this like one tape loop has this chord progression that like I know I want to play or want to experiment with, and part of that is in the suitcase of Drone, the left hand side 4-track, the Tascam 414, is used mostly for drones, and
drones. I think it cut out the audio there, but for drones. Okay, so the left one is your drones. Gotcha. I brought the image up.
I don't know, whatever, 5 years ago or however long ago, like, just like everyone else, I was on YouTube, like trying to be inspired, and I watched a rig rundown with Alessandro Cortini, and he showed how he used his 4-track as an instrument to play a chord progression.
Yes, I remember that video. Yeah, he was on tour with 9 Inch Nails, and it was like one song.
Yeah. And it was just like, it blew my mind. I like got a 4-track, and he recorded, I remember he was like, I record all these chords to tape, and he was doing like 20-minute sessions to get the chord in each track. So
because he was using the entire tape and it wasn't a loop.
Entire tape.
Oh.
I was doing that. I was like, fuck, this is taking way too long.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and record a G chord for 20 minutes. So then I was like, well, I remember hearing about tape loops, and like I never made one, but I know that they exist, and like, I was like, I'll try making those. And there weren't a ton of resources at the time. Like I pieced together a lot of websites, videos, and tried to like, figure that out. And then I started using tape loops, and I was like, okay, I can record 5 seconds worth, and start experimenting with that. So that's how it started. But so with what we did, I took that, I always have a tape of drones or chords, and so there's that part, and then the other 4-track on the right is mostly for a lot of like field recordings, melodies, other little bits that I want to put over those chords.
Okay, yeah. Layer 2.
Yeah, there's
alternate.
Layer 1, and then there's layer 2, and then you basically played layer 3, which is guitar.
Yeah.
Which like was interesting too, because I usually play guitar in a way that I'm bouncing back between the 4 tracks and then looping the guitar and then coming back and continuing to loop. So I'm always like, there's always a trade-off.
You're always switching off, yeah.
So like to have someone playing guitar like constantly through, I was like, oh, it's like having another me to do like, the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Did we process me? I remember at one point we took my signal and ran it into your effects. And so I don't remember if that happened.
Yeah, because the guitar runs through the system, like through the suitcase. So I was like I was like affecting your at points too.
Okay, because it's just this wall of sound, and then it's like it was very dense. But I felt like things I was doing were showing up in your process.
Yeah, I mean,
sound
is that's my shtick. Yeah,
that's great.
That's the thing. Yeah.
See, that's really cool. When I was in college, I remember there was somebody who was from Portland, actually. I'm blanking on his name right now. That's too bad. But he was working with this setup that was a reactor thing. He was using reactor, and he was using it to live process other musicians. And so we had this ensemble with Mark Dresser that was called Sound in Time, and it was awesome, and it was totally experimental. Everybody just do whatever they were into. And so he would live process other musicians, and it's really cool to like have other people play and then you do the effects, because like you're saying, you're usually switching off because you have to make a loop of yourself so that you can then put both hands back in the suitcase to get going, and to have it always changing live, it makes for a certain level of music and change and flow that you wouldn't get otherwise.
For sure. And it's like, I mean, when you also like go with a sense of control, you're like, I'm no longer like just hitting the pedals and like know what I'm turning on and off. It's like things can be happening that you're not doing. And you're like, that sound happened. You're like, oh, because I did it and you don't know what I'm doing. And so it's just like letting that go of like being like, okay, whatever happens, hopefully it'll all sound good and it'll blend and it'll be fine. Like trusting that, like, and trusting like when another musician that you're like, don't make it sound bad. Like we won't.
It's so great when, and it happens a lot when timbres and instruments and things are similar, or when there's cross-pollination like this, where something is happening and you're in the zone and the music's feeling great and something is happening and you don't know if it's you or the other person. And it's like, and sometimes you can't tell and you don't really have a way of finding out without possibly messing up what you're already doing, because you'd have to like take a level down or something to be like.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's good to have that illusion. It's nice to have that illusion, of stuff. Well, so let's see. So I played that part, a bunch, and then you came in with these chords that I'm trying to remember now from the piece. Maybe we should listen to it, but it's like a G A B minor thing, like G A. It's one of those like things, and those are the three. Is it 3 chords? And it's just those, right?
It's 3 chords, yeah.
And you were able to, like, chord 1 is on track 1, chord 2 is on track 2, chord 3 is on track 3, and then track 4 has like the same chord in a different way or something. What was
track 4? Technically, the way I have it set up is the input of the guitar, so it's always the guitar input into the 4 tracks. So it's usually 3 chords. Maybe or less, depending on something.
Would that have been my feed? Would that have been me, that guitar?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so now when I watch the video, I can actually be like, when was I brought into the mix? I can actually see when I'm in. Granted, I don't remember if when I edited it, if I was,
Right.
I think half of that was, no, that was B-roll. Only if it's the overhead shot. The overhead shot in the video is real time. Any
Right.
of the pretty shots are all just B-roll because I only own one camera. So, but okay, that's cool. I can go back and play the video looking only at your video feed, your
Right.
overhead
Right.
camera.
I want to say too. I see that Carl is asking like, "Were you jamming in the same room?"
Oh,
Yeah. Like
yes.
my studio at the time was very small. It was like a walk-in closet basically. It wasn't huge, so we were right next to each other. Like, I mean, I don't know, a foot away from each other. Like I was at my suitcase and you were like playing guitar, and we didn't
I could
have.
have hit you in the back with the guitar headstock almost there.
And then we also brought like a shit ton of video equipment too, and we were setting that all up. And I was like, "Oh, my room is full of stuff right now."
So I'm showing that video now, that overhead shot of the pedal board, and you can see on the left is a diffuser. It's a light stand with a diffuser on it. So there's a light behind that, and you can see the light on the top right. Well, at the bottom right, like at that part of the floor, that's Randall's back, and he's facing to the right. And that's where the suitcase and all that stuff is. So yeah, it was a small room, and we were just right next to each other in there. So yeah, we were jamming at the same time, and that's the thing. And so process to get back to that. This is great. So to get back into that, we were, I played that part, and that became like the theme for the intro. Basically, and then Randall came in with these like massive chords, and started building up that thing. And then I switched to, in fact, what I'm going to do, everybody, get this. Watch this. Now, here is the Logic session that I used to make the piece. You see me down here at Lightbath. It's just one recording of me and then one recording of Randall. The one of me is cut up. For the most part, it's because I was taking away the noise between phrases. But then sometimes you can see here, like, I'm actually like, I don't like the fact that I played that. I don't need to have that in there, and so it's edited in that way. But so here, here's me. Oh, I don't know Logic. I'm usually an Ableton user, and now my computer has a spinning beach ball while it's waiting to play. So please bear with. Oh yeah. Okay, here's a good one. Aaron Scott says, in culinary terms, it's a one-butt kitchen. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've not heard of a one-butt kitchen, but I haven't worked in a kitchen either. But it was a one-butt kitchen, yeah.
So let's see. So this is me like using the volume pedal to fade in those chords, and then the little noise is literally like when you use the switch, and it just makes noise.
Yeah.
So I used it as a part of the theme there. So, I thought I was soloed. So AMULETS coming in. I'm going to go back and just do the Lightbath one here. If I were to fast forward, those are the noises. Later on, I go... Looks like it's the same thing. You hear that? Wee! That's just like a fifth above a note that's in key, and now it's no longer in key. So same theme. Then I grab the EBO, another favorite from before, one of my past life as a guitar player. And I'm just like fading in barely these things and doing some noise. I'm really a secondary element of this track. Like, all of this stuff is just...
You're not secondary. You were very... You're very present.
I was bringing the vibe, dude. Okay, and I established the vibe with that part, and we built it around there. But no, the foundation of this piece is the wall of sound from the suitcase of Drone, by far. There's no question about that.
It's hard to miss. It's racial chord, just huge sound.
Speaking of that, let's listen to just your part here. So this is where you start to bring it in. if you can hear this, if I bring this down, I'm going to fade it down in level a little bit. Do you want to talk about a little bit of what you're doing process-wise?
Yeah. So the tape, like we were talking about, the tape loop for these chords is going through the 4-track, and I'm playing that progression, but that's also being fed through. There's an effects loop in the 4-track, and that's being fed through the what's in the image, the Alesis wedge reverb, which is a desktop unit from the 90s.
Yeah.
And so that unit's kind of noisy, and I think people like really didn't like it because they're like, it's kind of noisy and it's not as good. It's great, and it's such a large unit too. Like, but I really love the reverb sounds in it, and running it through my 4-track, it just gives it this like much bigger sound. And so even though like that's in my suitcase and takes up a lot of room, I'm just like, it's an essential part of the reverb delay sound of like running the tapes through it. And so you get a little bit of the tape in it, but you also get like the hugeness. So it's like, it's like the best of both worlds of like, it's like kind of sounds noisy, but like the tape already itself sounds noisy. So it's just like, it doesn't even, for me, it's like irrelevant, like whatever, it's already noisy. And like, that's part of the charm of all of it. Like I wouldn't use tapes if I didn't like a little bit of noise,
It's the mortar to the wall.
Yeah.
The noise is the mortar between the bricks of the wall.
It's so like that runs through that. And then, like we were talking about the rock and play. So when I'm playing the progression, the rock and play is also in the effects loop. So the rock and play has a 14-second, very low sampling rate, like phrase recorder. Yeah. So I'll hit record on it. I'll play the progression. And then I'll play that at half speed, like this playback, and then so that drops it an octave. Yes. So like playing an octave lower and slower. And so with that chord progression playing like that, I will take the original chord progression and play that along with it, and then stack it. So we have 2 voicings. Yes. And once we have the 2 voicings in the effects loop as well, I have I think it says the Zoom MS50G, which has a bunch of like pre-built pedal chains I've made in it, and like. Oh,
that's the one with the screen on it. That's what's going on.
The one with the screen on it, and so that one I have a couple effects that I'll like pull up for different songs. One of them is like this delay shimmer. Yeah. And so when I bring in that part, the delay shimmer brings that octave above that. So you get like this 3-voice, like chorus. It's like choir. It's full, and that makes that full sound where you get the full like spectrum.
Such as right here. I'll bring the fader up for a moment. You can hear that high octave. It's a really organ-like sound, like an organ, So wait a minute, let me get this straight. Okay, so I just want to back us up here. So you have the chords at normal pitch as they are in the left Tascam. In the effects loop is the reverb followed by a rock and play, followed by this second effect.
I think technically it's the wedge reverb and the rock and play
are the only 2 things.
And then there's a second effects loop, and that one has the zoom.
Oh, there's actually 2 effects loops on this thing.
That's what makes the 414 so good. It's like amazing. Like it has 2 effects loops. It's a 4-track. It has variable speed. I mean, I don't really use the variable speed that much, other than to do a little like pitch shifty stuff. But like the actual range of it is not that great.
Super useful. Yeah, it's almost just to retune something. Okay, so I get it now, and that makes sense why the shimmer was playing an octave above the original loop pitch, because if it were shimmering the downsampled half-speed one, then it would just be normal pitch, normal at 0, not plus 12 or whatever, Okay, that's how you have these 3 layers.
It's shimmering above that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. Okay, so that's what's going on in this left one, and this is now not just not just cathartic pressure waves, not just our jam here, but in general, like this is
that's a go-to move. Yeah.
Now, what about
as like one musician, I always feel like, how do I keep developing the song and the idea to make it keep moving? Because for me, in the music I make, I always want it to evolve, and I feel like all my songs have a start and end where there's like it grows to a point, or like there's movement in it that I constantly feel like I need to do because like I want to feel like I'm doing more. And so there's always like little tricks of like, how do I make more out of the things I have?
Yeah.
And part of the trick of like, well, what if I loop myself looping stuff and then add like shimmer and like can add like more voicings to something without, having to add another tape or another player or whatever. Just like trying to be creative with the things that I have.
The multi-tiered loop setup is the thing. It's like, I remember in New York, like a long time ago, when in this past life I'm talking about as a guitar player, I remember seeing Ty Braxton before he got into modular as well, because modular wasn't, Eurorack wasn't really happening at this time. Like I think there were dub-first systems, but people didn't really, it hadn't caught on yet, And he was doing the pedal looping thing, and he had the looper that I was using at the time, the DL4, the Line 6, the green Line 6 pedal. Yeah. And then he had, after that, an Echoplex, the rack mount Echoplex unit. Mm-hmm. And so he was creating his first tier loops in the DL4, and then hands off doing things with manipulating effects, running that into the Echoplex and creating song form out of it that way, like creating different sections and then going back to the first one and then making a different section, and then he could go back and forth, and because the thing is being a looper, one who loops, a guitar player who works with loops. Yeah. I only ever had one tier, and kind of. I had another thing we could talk about at some point, but I was doing at that point, my song forms weren't super complex. I couldn't do a lot with the song forms because I would basically have an idea, I would build up that idea, and then eventually the idea had to stop, and then maybe I could come in with a live thing really quick, once you stop the thing, and that's like your only move. Your only move is like get more, and then go to nothing, and then get more. So it's the entire shape of the set becomes a sawtooth. Right.
And because that's the problem with like the singular looper. You can go and you can stack and you can remove, but that's kind of it. Like
if you can remove, yours can, I think, right? Mine couldn't.
Like if you can do the undo feature.
Yes.
For
like the head rush or whatever that is.
On my pedal board, I have two loopers set up in two different places in the pedal board because depending on where I want to loop something, I'll have pedals in between that where I turn on a reverse delay to this loop, so then it affects that loop, which shifts that, and not just me playing something more to the loop, but like running it, processing it differently. So there's always points where the loops are changing in themselves just from like how they're processed. So
and then they can be processed twice then ends up happening, right? I'm trying to think, or maybe we could talk more about the rest of the signal chain. Maybe this is a good time to go through the rest of that. Because I see on the pedal board, we're looking at it here again, I see the whole left side, like basically everything that is the width of the 414 is that zone, right?
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Yes, actually. That's that zone, that quadrant. Yeah.
That second rock and play, that's happening on what signal?
That second rock and play is going through, so the other 4-track is being run through reverb, delay, and that other rock and play. And using the rock and play in a similar way of resampling the loop, or whatever loop.
Yeah, and I see the pitches down, I can see that pretty...
It's usually meant to do something like always like a half speed kind of thing. So like recording the tape into that, so like the low quality tape into the like low quality recorder and then half speed it, and then it's just like sub quality. And then that's run through like reverb and delay, so then you get something really like just dirty or sounding. So
that's how you weave the fabric. The fabric is woven with the reverb and the delay, and the threads of the fabric are made by the rock and play and that and the tape itself. You know, like the quality of the thread is because of those two primary characteristics, and then it gets woven with
for that song for sure. Like, I mean, like with that too, like because the other 4-track, that right side is running through that reverb delay and the second rock and play. It is not connected to the other. Well, I mean, it is connected to the other one, but they don't get affected into each other. So it's like having one unit with reverb and delay and then second reverb and delay unit that aren't the same. So they'll sit differently too. So it's not all run through the same reverb.
It's parallel. Channels here.
It's like different band members. They're like doing their own things.
Yeah, you know, the approach of having like one reverb at the end, for example, is something I've never been able to do with the way I wire up the modular and all that. And it surprised me when, for example, like Emily Sprague, when we did that full new thing, when we did that Commend deal, her setup at that time was synth into Odo Bam reverb pedal and out. Like her reverb pedal was her final thing. Now, granted, her way of putting together, her way of orchestrating her voices in the way she was working, were sort of all sitting in the same zone, so it kind of worked. It was very minimal. Yeah. Right, it's very minimalist, and so it works, I guess, to just like put it all in a reverb to tie the room together. But for me, I always tend to want to have a reverb per voice, a delay per voice, and that tends to be the way I patch the modular. Like I have my synthy voice, and it's going to go into a delay and then a reverb, and then I have my like modeled kind of percussive voice, and that's going to go into a delay and a reverb, or which is clouds, you know. But like that kind of thing. Yeah, because then you can go. There's so much more you can do with it. You can have lots of A, you know, wet A, dry B, right? Dry A, wet B, or wet, dry, whatever. You know. So what was going on in the tape on the right side? Like what kind of material was it for this piece?
I'm trying to remember. I think that one had. Usually, it's like track 1 is like some kind of field recording, or some kind of noise element. Sometimes it's like, usually it's like, I do a lot of field recordings with my iPhone, and like field recordings, and it's like field recording, I like walk around and I like hold my iPhone up to something that sounds interesting, you know, like, and I have just this voice memo list of like ridiculous things of like rain gutter down the street, and like, that was sick. Like, let me save that for an Amulet song later. But that usually one of those sounds becomes like the track 1 of that 4-track. It's just like, okay, I like that texture, and really it's like a non-musical textural element for sure. Yes. That's like something there that you can bring in, and then the rest are I don't remember exactly which sounds I had on that one, but it's usually like typically I'll do like a guitar loop or like some kind of guitar melody and record that to tape. I'll do like a little synth melody.
Like less dense parts, obviously, are happening on this right side.
Go on top that like you can bring in and like it make, you know, you're changing the structure of the song. So
yeah. Now these tapes are paired. You made them as a pair. They're meant to be together. Yes?
Yes. Every song I've written has two, I mean, I should say every song. Most songs I've written have two tapes that accompany each other. And like this whole, I don't know, next to all my like half-broken 4-tracks, there's a bunch of like just tape cases from like audiobooks, and I have all of my like songs that I've made like archived in there. So like if I want to bring up a song, you know, it's like 2 tapes. It's like the left side, right side, and then I have to tune the 4 tracks to each other too.
Yes.
So I have to tune them to each other and then tune my guitar to that.
Now, do you have to do that for every song? Do you have to tune them together, or is it pretty much you try to keep them set when they're being recorded so that they're...
I've standardized it at this point where there's a little bit of drift, so I just have to like fine tune it.
Okay, so you can do that by ear during performance. You just kind of do it. You don't have to like sound check it every time you change a tape.
Kind of make sure sets are like constructed in a way that doesn't make me have to retune each thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Well,
he's like, yeah, pretty
we can
standard.
see it here on the right side of the screen, which is to your left. The one of those books that's stuck to the inside lid of the suitcase, and so that's what you have filed there on the top shelf there. Those kind of books.
And that's how it started, as like a need for like when I wanted. So it's funny too, because I know you're a Eurorack guy. The whole when I started the suitcase, when I started experimenting with 4 tracks, like I remember I was really like jealous of like a lot of like Eurorack like cases, and people just being able to like open up and they were just like, ready to go, and they just like plug it in. And it's like bloop 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 bloop. I'm like, oh cool, that's sick. I want to do that, but I'm not gonna buy any modules because I don't understand it, and it's like too expensive. And I was just like, at the time, I'm like, I'll just try it with tapes. And so I started building out this setup where I was like, this dream was to be able to have a suitcase of like tape loops and pedals that I could just open up and play.
So the suitcase of drone really did come from like Eurorack 12U systems.
Yeah.
Like circa, when would this have been? Like
I guess it was like, what is it, like 2013? 2014.
You were yeah, that's around the time when I first found out about like 2000, yeah, like 12 or 13 is when I discovered Eurorack, when I discovered Control down the street from me when I was living in Brooklyn. And I was just like, what is this place?
I was like, what is this stuff? And like I remember just like admiring those suitcases, and like people, like I just loved that it was so like everything was developed in there. You could just like, oh yeah, you knew what exactly was going on or whatever. Like that was your setup. And so when I was designing this, I was like, how do I do that with all of this stuff? And so I remember my first suitcase didn't have a locking lid. So I played one of my shows, and like I was trying to play, and like the thing fell on me, and I was like, oh fuck, I gotta get something that locks. Like if I'm gonna use this in any kind of real capacity, it can't fall on me like mid-show.
Those hinges, I see the hinges now. Yeah, they're the kind you push like a folding table legs are like that too. Yeah.
They lock, and it's like all trial and error. Like all of this,
yeah,
always all trial and error. It's like, does this work? Like, nope, that didn't work. Like, I need a bigger suitcase that locks. And so part of that was like, this suitcase locks, and then it was like, okay, well, I want to play all these songs, and as I was developing it, I was like, each song uses 2 tape loops, and so I was trying to like, how do I like store all these things?
Yeah,
I remember like, going to a lot of thrift stores and like buying up so many tapes and buying these like weird books on tape. And then I just had the idea of like, what if I just open it up and like stick it in, like Velcro it in.
Set list right there. And the fact that they're in pairs. I mean, I guess, do you even do linear set lists, or do you just be like, here are the songs I'm going to play, I'm going to feel out which one it's appropriate to do next? How much of that do you plan?
For me, like a lot of it's like it's become more constructed of like planned, and like because I don't like too many surprises like with the tape loops, because sometimes like I played many shows where like a tape loop can just break, and I've had that happen like mid show, and they're like that's like a band member like falling over, like passing out. You're like,
yeah,
what do I do now? Like this one whole part is no longer happening.
Do you have backups for those now? Is that what you do?
Backups, because I never made a backup tape of any of them. So it's just like I'll try to fix them. But like I just have backup songs now. So like people are like, you didn't have these songs. I'm like, well, I can't. I can't. I won't play all of them. Like that's like every song I play is like 10 minutes. So it's like I'm gonna play 3 or 4 songs max. But I have backup songs in case something breaks.
Hey, look who's here. Hiroshi woke up early. It's pretty early in Japan right now, and it's 5 a.m. and he woke up to be here. Hey, Hiroshi, good to see you. Randall and I last time, did we both see him at the same time? We saw Hiroshi when we were hanging with Marcus Fisher.
Yeah.
When we had pizza in Portland.
Yeah.
And Octave. Octave was there too, hanging out. Very cool. Hey, so this is a great moment to mention that you are going to be opening for this will destroy you.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like, it's wild. Like, I mean, I remember listening to that band, like in college, like post college. Like, I don't know. Like, I was really into that band, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, and it was just like, I don't know. Like, I was into a lot of like, you know, post rock stuff at the time, and getting into like more instrumental music. And I was like, this is really beautiful music, and like, I love what they do. And you know, to like look at my life, you know, years later, many years later, and you're like, well, you're gonna go on tour with them. I'm like, what? That's fucking crazy. Like, no way.
Dream.
It's wild.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm like, I opened for them in Portland a couple years ago, and it was like one of the biggest shows I've ever played. It was like crazy. It was insane.
Such a good fit too, man. Like,
yeah,
wow.
That's what they were saying, and they're like, it was a really good fit. We really liked you. We got a lot of great feedback. Let's go on tour sometime soon. I'm like, sure. Like, let me know. And so now we're making that happen. Doing a West Coast tour next month. Playing in like Chico and Berkeley, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Yeah, I think there's like 6 shows on the West Coast tour. So we're gone like a week and a half or whatever, but just driving up and down the West Coast playing my tape loops.
And so what are you doing to prepare? How are you preparing?
So I just recently got a practice space with some people, and so
practicing loud, preparing loud. Yes.
Because I was practicing in my room for a long time, and like, you know, I have like studio monitors, I have neighbors. There's a lot of things that like you can't do when you're trying to play. Like, I'm gonna play shows that are gonna be loud.
Yeah.
And practicing loud is really key, just to be able to hear frequencies and things you aren't gonna normally hear in like when you're practicing quiet. And so I have this shared space, and we just got a PA system, and it's nice and loud. And I go there, like, I've been going there a couple times a week now, and just like figuring out my system, my sound, being louder, dialing things in, you know, trying to like rehearse the sets in a way that gives me enough structure, but enough freedom to be like, okay, I can improvise some things here.
Okay.
I can make, you know, jam out a little bit here or whatever, drone out. I shouldn't say jam out. It's not like I'm shredding. It's like drone out a bit more here. And yeah, so it's like, so I'm just kind of like practicing with that, and just practicing louder, and getting all my merch ready, and booking Airbnbs, like letting friends know I'm going to be in their cities, you know, just kind of like ramping up to, which is going to be one of the biggest tours that I've ever done.
Yes. Pinnacle thus far, launch into AMULETS 2.0, AMULETS 3.0, whichever 0.0 it is. So yeah, Arbeni wants to know how many Pearl Jam covers you're going to be playing.
Like, you see Arbeni here talking shit about Pearl Jam covers, like, yeah, Austin, I'm going to play Daughter. I'm going to play Better Man.
Daughter.
I want to do all the hits.
You got to do Jeremy, though.
All singles, no deep cuts.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Sweet. Good to know. Good to know. Austin, what's your favorite animal?
I'm just talking to Austin now.
Actually, I'm yeah, exactly. No, actually, I'm curious, Randall, what's your favorite animal?
What's my favorite animal? Ooh,
yeah.
I don't know. I like jellyfish a lot. They're kind of weird.
Good answer. Wow. Okay, hold on. I actually want to make a comment. Arbeni's answer is no. Oh, even okay. So, yeah. But this almost seems like we're at the Q&A point. However, before we open that up, I know you heard me say Q&A. I know I said the magic word, but before we open that up, I want to make sure that we've gotten far enough along on how we made that piece, because that's what that started this whole thing. And I realized a second ago that there's something else I was doing that I want to talk about. So Brian time for a second here. Lightbath time for a second. So DD5. Boss DD5, Boss DD6, Boss DD7, those pedals have a really cool reverse delay. Oh, I need to hold on. I need to actually press the. That's how Logic works. Like you can't. Well, I don't know how in Logic to make the channel always play through without clicking on the channel. But oh well. So here it is. So you got this thing where you can. Oh, and now it's still not making sound. All right. That's all the way up. This is here. What am I doing? I don't have any sound. I'm playing the guitar, and maybe I won't show it. Well, there's this really cool reverse thing, and I've been doing it for years, and I freaking love it, and I really want to show you all just because I'm never going to show you again.
You're like, I'm never going to play guitar again.
Yeah, like when is that actually going to happen? Okay, so I'm plugged in, but I'm not oh, it's because it's soloed. We got the AMULETS track that's soloed. Bam, here we go. So it's just this really cool thing where it's a reverse delay, so I used to always use it, and I still don't hear it. Okay, the universe is telling me we're not going to do that. Don't call me daughter. So,
this time up Pearl Jam still.
Actually, no, I really do. Oh, it's still soloed. That's why. Bam. Hey, look at that. All right, so it's just like texture. Like that's what I did before modular. I still abstract my stuff with modular, but I never was like a kind of guitar player. I never felt super comfortable like shredding or anything, and so I developed tendonitis while I was in college for guitar, and at that point I had to come up with ways of making music that didn't involve as much finger movement or especially finger holding down of chords, because my arms just wouldn't do it. And so
like pretty like stressful for you. Like,
oh man, bar chords were the worst. Like like having to doing that was the worst. But it was just plain stressful to be in music school and have the thing that I needed to be able to do what I'm doing not work. Which, funny enough, is happening to me now with my eyes. I've got this eye fatigue, and the thing I need to do is look at the freaking computer, and it's like I can't do it. So that's another life lesson that's happening right now that I'm trying to figure out. Hey, Scott Campbell, what's up? Scott Campbell is here. So, but this kind of thing. So, Randall, do you use that reverse delay like that? Do you do that kind of stuff?
I mean, I know you were I remember you were talking about how like you do like 100% like mix. So you
kill the dry. Yeah.
Yeah, you kill the dry. See, I use the my favorite is the what is that one? It's the Digitech Digidelay.
Okay, and that's like a newer one.
It's like a silver. It's like a very cheaper Digitech delay pedal, but the Digidelay has a really great reverse sound, and so I use that reverse delay a lot.
And you mix it in with your dry signal, in other words.
I mix it. I don't go 100%, but like I do mix. Yeah.
Man, this reverse stuff is just so much fun. Like like single string.
I always like looping and how to get more out of the looper. Like I really like my my Ditto X2 looper because like from the foot switch I can hit a half speed loop or I can reverse.
Yes.
And so that's like constantly trying to evolve the loop that I'm doing on guitar. So I'll like most songs I'll have a point where I'm looping something and then reverse it and then run that reverse into a reverse delay. So it reverses the reverse.
Yes. But because the delays are like, depending on what that delay time is and how that delay time is slicing the time of what you're actually playing on the loop, that'll make some really cool, like chopped up phrases in kind of weird ways. That's that. And because we're
it's like
it's guitar effects here, so that means most of this stuff is knob based, meaning if you're in modular, you tend to be in this zone where like half of the time something could be a division of the clock or something, right? So a lot of time sync, you're throwing clock around a lot with modular, but with guitar pedals, it's all just like how you dialed it in, so it can really make a difference on how you time all those delays, you know. But yeah, my DL4 was the same way. One button for the it was the same button. You have to double tap it.
Yeah.
I think.
But the DL4 was so awesome. Like in like that one shot with the looper you could do, like like fucking minus the very does all the time. Like that was like I've never seen a looper that has another one shot like that.
Knudsen, shout out to Knudsen, right?
Yeah,
That's his name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I first found out about mono cases. I didn't think this was going to be a sponsored thing, but I guess I am. I do have a sponsorship with them, so this is technically a sponsorship shout out. I didn't mean to, but I first found out about mono cases years ago because of Minus the Bear.
yeah.
So, fun fact.
Minus the Bear.
Okay, so yeah, I was doing those kind of things. I had the EBO going on. I was getting some noises with that. You were taking my stuff. You were sampling that. You were just because there's points in the song where it gets all like you can totally hear that you've like caught a piece of it, and you're just like. You know, like jittering that. And then we fade out, and it took us all day to make this because we stopped, and then we got veggie burgers, and then came back.
Technical difficulties too of like getting everything set up, you know, like getting the cameras.
I mean, that's pretty much what took the whole morning, right? The whole first half.
Yeah.
Just doing the tech setup. But would you say we probably played the piece like we probably did like 20 takes, 20, 30 takes.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like it's like funny like working with someone else too, because like I'll record a piece. Like there were many, like all of my earlier albums, like I made it a point to never finish anything. So it was a point to like I'm gonna do this in one take. I'm gonna go to bed, and then I'm gonna listen to it in the morning. And I'm like, cool, I made an album. I didn't overthink it.
Wow.
And like now I do a lot more. Like work on them. Well, I should I did work on them before, but like now I like try to like do a little bit more editing and stuff. But I still try to keep that at the heart of it. Like if something comes out and that take feels good, then I'm like, okay, I could probably try to do it like more times, but I'm like, I'm gonna just go with it.
The Miles Davis approach. It's when Kind of Blue was being made, for example, like. I think it's probably any album, but I vaguely remember reading something about that where it's just like Miles just wants the first take, and like if it doesn't work, then it almost doesn't work or something. I don't know.
Ryan, I'm just like Miles Davis. That is true. That's right.
Well, for me, everybody here probably those who know me know if at least if they've watched the Loom 4 Lightbath Zone video that I will do lots of takes, but that lots of takes things. Is not if I'm just doing an improvisation and I just want to go. It's when I'm wait, Benny, Kilometers Davis.
Yeah, I think someone said it in here before. Like, Benny, you're a real troll. Everyone knows it. Just a quick call out. This guy over here.
Oh wait, it's pronounced Knudsen. The K silent. Knudsen. The K silent.
Knudsen, but I don't know.
I was saying canoed. That's terrible. Well, okay. Well, Kilometers Davis wins so far. If anybody can do better than that, it will go up on the screen. Otherwise, this stays. So, just saying. Yeah. So, back to well, if we want to try to wrap up a bit of compositional process. I was repeating those takes because I was coming up with ideas of like, okay, I'm going to start with this phrase, and then I'm going to move to EBO, and then I'm going to move to reverse that thing, and then we're going to see what happens. And so it took me that many repetitions to come up with a like plan of what I felt could fit along with what you were doing with what was on in there so that we could make an arc, you know? And so it wasn't like, oh, I didn't play well that time. That's not what I was looking for. What I was looking for is like, let's find the arc that works. Mm-hmm. And then when we have the plan, then it was only a matter of like, it couldn't have been more than 2 takes, I think. I vaguely remember we did this take and we were like, that's the one. And I was like, let's just try one more. And we did another one, and it wasn't as good, and so that's the keeper. Is that what happened, or did I make that up?
Yeah. I think it was like, let's do one more, and then it was like, okay, no, the other one was better.
The other one's obviously the one, yeah. So I see all those takes as the compositional process, because in high school, I had a 4-track cassette thing. I had a 424, actually. Yeah. And my process, the way I practiced was to make pieces on it. And my guitar teacher like would give me assignments to like make on the 4-track because he knew it was the only way he could get me to practice. Like I wouldn't practice something unless I had to make him a recording. And so if I had to make him recording, I wanted it to be good. And so
Yeah.
so it's good. I'm glad he did that. But like I would do take after take after take as I was developing the piece. So the takes are actually my compositional process. It's my way of figuring out what's going to go where. But if a piece is already written,
I think that's very, I mean, that's very normal. I think for a lot of people just think like trying to run through it and like develop like different ideas each time you go through it, and like you're getting closer and closer to something, you know?
Yeah, and I see Scott Campbell here saying, you know, less editing equals more fun. It's kind of like that means for no editing afterwards. It's like it's there. It's the thing. Like I'm editing. That take process is like an internal like edit kind of thing. So Randall, but when you do your stuff, it's pretty much just like captured improvisations then? How much planning beforehand do you do?
I mean, I think there's always like I think songs start off with like a kernel of like emotion or like whatever I'm trying to like feel. Like I want this song to be like way more like subtle, and like this song's gonna be really not subtle, and it's gonna be like a really dark and emotional song, or depending on where I'm at or like feeling. And sometimes it's like 2 in the morning and I'm recording random stuff to tape and just trying to prepare like a tape for looping. And then like I'll wake up the next day and I'll have this tape that has like 4 loops on it, and I'll put it in my 4-track and start playing around with it. I'm like, oh, okay, like something's coming up here. Then I'll like start playing guitar along with it, and then so it starts building. I'm like, oh, I need another, like I need more sounds in this. And I kind of think about sounds that I want on top of it, and like make another tape and like put that tape loop in. So then so usually like just like keeps flowing into each other of like, okay, so it started here and then I added this and I added something else. So it always starts with tape. It always like it's normally like something I record to tape and then like play half speed and like, oh, I like that sound. Something I'm gonna do something with that.
That's the tape is the stock pot. It's like in your kitchen, in your one butt kitchen, like the tape is what allows it all to cook. But I see now how you're talking about it's this process that's split through time. You know, you're making one component of it. Well, it's any like high level cooking. Not that I know a lot about really high level cooking, but I made something semi gourmet following this. Actually, believe it or not, following an Instapot recipe a little while ago. I was tweeting about when I was just like, I just made some gourmet tacos, and that process of making that takes like about 4 hours because you make the salsa like from scratch. You then use that salsa to cook the meat in. And then you, what's the other part? What am I forgetting? What was the third part of it? Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. But, you know, you have to like do all these things that once you put together, finally then is the thing. And so you're working on all these different things. Your emotions are being channeled without thinking into these components, right? Or with less think, more feel into these components. And then when you get to the point where you're starting to put it together into that final, you have all the components and you've said, okay, here are all the ingredients that I want. When it comes time to throw that stuff together, how does that tend to happen? Like sometimes you might be like, hey, this is, I know I want to do this with it, or do you just let it go and you feel it? Like how does that happen at the final stage?
I think it's like a little bit of both. Like sometimes it like comes together in a way that I'm like, oh, I don't think I would normally have done that, but like the pieces and the components like move me toward this direction. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, I know like my go-tos, and like kind of like figure it out through that. It's kind of like, I mean, to keep going with the analogy of cooking, sometimes you're trying to do something totally new, and like you're like, I don't even understand this flavor profile. Like it's something that it's out of my wheelhouse, and so I make that. But sometimes it's just like you're like, ah, man, I love this kind of shit. Like this is my like meat and potatoes. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cook this up, and I know that that's gonna serve me like every time. Like I love that. It's like maybe it's another version of the same thing, but I'm like I still like that. So it's like a mix of trying to do things you both are scared of doing, or like you don't know how it'll turn out.
Yeah.
And the things that you know, they're like, oh yeah, this is like an amulet song or whatever it is, you know.
The formula, the recipes, yeah.
But like I mean, personally, like cooking is a large hobby of mine. I really am interested in cooking, and I watch a lot of like, you know, weird pedal videos, but I also watch a lot of cooking videos on YouTube. And like, I love cooking, and like I think like part of like the analogy like for me of like doing all of this is like there is a lot that like I pull all the stuff from my shelf. I have people have seen my like pegboard of wires, and that's all like a pantry of pedals and spices and like plugging things together and trying out new flavor profiles, new combinations of like gear and like food, and like this tastes like shit or this one tastes really good. But even the ones that taste like shit, you're like, well, I tried it, and then I put it out there on the internet. I'm like, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird. And so I feel like for me, like especially like Instagram has become like a visual, like, you know, sound sketchbook.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna try some things, and like they're not like it's not a song. It's like a minute slice of something I attempted.
This is our Benny Jams on Instagram too, and see, this is what I haven't done. This is total side. This just makes me think of this though. Yeah. I've not approached Instagram in that way where it's like, here's the more experimental thing. Let me just throw some ideas out. I tend to just put like examples of things that I've already made, not like actual.
I work in that way of just being like, so some of these are things like, oh, I like this sound. Maybe I'll explore that in a song later. Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, maybe I'm not going to do anything with that. But it's like constant, you know, evolution of trying new things. So,
well, shall we open up? How do you feel about this? Do you feel like we want to say anything more about the piece? And maybe I should even say, Scott, since you were the one that started this from the beginning, are we cool for the audio patch notes of the piece? How do you feel about how that was put together? The general concept of the suitcase of drone, how Randall's working with that, how I was sort of his looped guitar but live, how we came up with the general arc of it. The general arc of the feel of it and the emotion was it just happened, you know. But yeah, so Q&A? Shall we?
I really like the comment AMULETS. Like
Emerald. Oh, I missed that one. Scott wins.
Hey, I'm the Emerald Lagasse of
Emerald, yeah, like the chef guy.
Bam.
AMULETS. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You know, you're neck and neck. You two are tied. Scott Campbell and Arbeeny are tied with the puns right now. Between, granted, I will give a close second to Soup Bath. Ryan Kunkelman with Soup Bath. Actually, Ryan's on here twice. You're logged in twice, man. I see you here in both of your accounts. So okay, but all right. So if we were to open up Q&A, yes, not if we were. Let's do it. So now, everybody, if anyone has any questions that maybe you asked before and we missed, or you want to ask now, mostly to Randall, but of course, ask me anything too. But you know, I'm not going to go off too much about Eurorack or anything, right? In this stream, maybe not.
Yes. Question: is everyone having fun? Was this good? Is this helpful? Like,
oh wait, I see Scott's here. All right, let's start with this. So Scott Sheffield, I feel pretty good. So I suppose mostly exploring how do you reach this wall of sound? Okay, that wall is mostly Randall, because if you were to just listen to my parts, which I stopped playing at one point, it would sound like just this. And my computer's doing the spinning thing, and you know, the computer's doing a lot right now. To its credit, it's actually not the computer that's slow; it's the drive it's the archive drive that this project is on. I don't have it on the SSD. I have it on this like external drive that has to spin up. So here we go. Right, that's not a wall, and this is not a wall either. By the way, at the end when I was like pushing on the guitar, there's no whammy bar on the guitar, so I asked you, Randall, didn't I ask if it's okay if I do some pitch bends with the neck? Did I ask you first before I
think you did.
Maybe I didn't.
It doesn't matter. I'm not like,
I wasn't. I mean, it's a pretty normal thing to do. I do it on my guitar. Oh, wait. I just realized you are unable to be heard when the audio is coming out of your computer. What was the last thing you just said?
No, if anything, I don't remember if you asked, but then you did it, and I was like, that's cool.
Okay.
And then if anything, I was like, oh, I should do that. That's a good move.
Oh yeah, it's a thing I've been doing. I like to have a guitar with a whammy, like a Jazzmaster or something like that. But I no longer own a Jazzmaster, so with my Les Paul here, that's what I do. And it's a set neck guitar too, and you need to be a little more careful with those, but I do it, and it's fine. So the wall, the point here is that the wall was not coming from me. The wall is entirely coming from the amulet side of things. And so it's reached just by, if I should even answer my understanding of what you've said so far, chords thrown into to looper and into reverb and delay and reverb, or in that case, reverb and delay. And then the same thing again, and it just... You're layering the lower pitch version of the thing itself, and a higher pitch version of the thing. And so all those things all together with the reverb and the delay and the texture of what those pedals do and what tape does, it just makes this huge wall.
I think that even if I didn't use the rock and play, I mean, just between having that much reverb and delay and then adding more tape loop stuff to that, the other 4-track, and then adding more guitar to it, it's very much I'm not a minimal person. It's always additive. It's always more and more and more. So the more you stack it, I'm really just building that wall between loops on loops on loops on loops on loops, and you just stack everything until it is a wall of sound. Yeah, it's just. I mean, I feel like that's what I feel like I'm just constantly doing is just how do I add more loops?
Awesome.
Add more sounds.
Where did we get those veggie burgers?
We went to a place called, what was it?
I remember what it looked like. I just don't remember the name.
I forget the name of that place, actually.
It was like a bar. It was like a bar that served veggie burgers and stuff, and it was pretty good. So let's see. What do we have here? So wanting to pick up a 4-track, already picked one up, and the guy gave me the wrong power supply, and it fried the unit. Oh, that's so Is there a 4-track you wouldn't recommend getting? Well, interesting.
I only have really used the Fostex and Tascams.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of experience with the Yamahas or some of the other brands. I don't know. I really like the Tascams. I feel like I will always have a Porta 02 and a 414. 414. I don't know. Some people say 414. Some people say 414.
Yeah.
I'm always curious as the poll of who says 414, who says 414. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like the Tascams. I feel like they're always pretty good.
And Scott Campbell uses a lot of the Fostex, right? When you do your mods and stuff, you're pretty hip to those Fostexes, right? I'm curious.
I sent my Fostex to Scott and got it modded.
Nice.
So anyone who wants to get a modded Fostex, send it to Scott.
Yeah, Scott's the way to go for that. So Scott, maybe you chime in if you have any thing to add to that. Everywhere in Portland is a bar. So yeah, it was one of those. So a good starter one. So now scoping to the other side of it. And if there's anything not to get, a good starter one. So in other words, I guess you're saying, is a 414 a good starter one? 414 is a little more than a starter because it has both effects loops, right?
Yeah.
And it has the pitch.
Starter. And it's a little bit more expensive, for sure. But, it's great. I guess I don't know, starter and not starter, it has a lot of features. And you'll definitely... But, you don't need that to get started, I guess. You don't even need a 4-track to get started. If you want 4 tracks, sure. But if you have a, tape recorder and the willingness to want to make a tape loop, then yeah, you can get started just experimenting with tape loops.
Yeah, true. I actually don't have a 4-track right now, but I have one of those little Marantz dealies. It does not, however, play. I have to adjust the pitch every single time. The pitch is off. I think that's something that could be fixed. I bet Scott could probably fix that for me. But I can use loops with that. I have one of your tape loops. I bought one of your tape loops when you offered up, you gave up the thing like on Bandcamp, like, hey, I got another batch, and I jumped on that. But okay, let's go through some more of these questions. So, have you used that Zoya pedal?
Yeah. And it's way more
on
than
your Instagram, isn't it?
It's way more than a pedal. It's like it's like a little computer. Like
it's a platform.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, if anything, I was trying to learn it, and like I watched a couple of videos on it, and was like trying to decipher it, and it's like it's deep. Like it took me some time, and I still don't really understand it that well. I saw like Heimbach did a video, and I was trying to watch his video. I'm like, oh, if Heimbach can make a video about it, like I can probably understand this.
And our Benny's been using it, so feel free to chime in, Austin. Like if you have any words on that. I know we've talked a little bit about. That's what you used, I think, during your Europe tour. So the last stream, one of the last streams we had, we talked a little bit about that. Let's see what else we got on here. You bought one of the AMULETS tape machines. Very awesome. Did you enjoy the process of making them?
Yes and no. I mean, I like being able to offer and make it, but it just was a lot of work. And like, honestly, it became a thing that I was like, this is cool. But like, I also felt like a small kind of like pedal manufacturer where I was like making these things all the time. And like, it became this thing where I was like, yeah, I want to do this like in batches or whatever. Like, but at the same time, I was like, this isn't like building something like this isn't my thing. I don't like, it wasn't like the thing I want to do all the time. Like be like a manufacturer of anything. Because I was like, oh, I'm making more things than I'm like making music or creating art or something. So it became like a thing that I was like, oh yeah, okay, I might have to scale back on how I do this, or maybe just one-offs, or maybe just like a yearly batch or something. I don't know. I'm still kind of exploring what I want to do with that. And so
I know the feeling. It was that way for me, sort of, for this Selected Public Works thing. It was very ambitious for me to choose to put out 4 albums at the same time, and in fact, that's when I gave myself this eye strain vertigo thing. Was just doing way too many hours of the mixing and the mastering, and just staring at the computer all day, and then watching Netflix afterwards or whatever, watching a movie afterwards. But afterwards, after I did it, I was like, I don't think I want to make. I'm never doing 4 again at once. At least I know that, and it always seems like a good idea when you have it, and then you.
This like you learn through like the ambitious projects. You're like, yeah, maybe this isn't what I want to do all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What do we have here? So here we tapes die after a little while. So Tree's Horse is saying, I guess tapes die after a little while. So if one of your original cassette loops broke or something, are you not able to play it anymore? Are you making backup archives? So yeah, we were sort of talking about that. You actually fixed a tape loop during our session. Yes. The tape broke, and you just put it over on the bench. You took it apart with the screwdriver, took it apart, and used some masking tape. Yeah, and put it back together.
It like happens all the time. Like tape loops are finicky, and they they suck. They will always let you down. But I've had many shows where they've broken mid set, and I have to like switch songs. And I have a couple songs that I've played in my set over the years, and I don't make backup copies. And one of the tapes have started to wear down to a point where they used to sound really good playing like live, and now they sound a lot more dull.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's kind of cool because like some of those tapes and those songs, they like decommission themselves from my set. So it's like either they break too often, or they start sounding like too much garbage. Where it's like, I think I'm gonna retire the song from my set, and it's okay. Like I archive it, and it's done. Like
natural
it's
process. It's so organic.
Of the set, like you had a good run, stop playing the song.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
I never even considered that. Are you choosing, this is a Lightbath question here, are you choosing are you doing anything regarding that for this upcoming tour? Are there certain songs that you want to make sure that you play and you get to play so you actually have backups for the actual song?
I have been like, okay, I'm gonna actually, I think this is one time, I think I'm at a level, I'm like, I think I might make a backup tape loop of this song.
Yep.
Just because I'm like, I don't want to not play this song, but it's just like there's songs off my new record like I want to play.
Yep.
It's like a whole new set, and I'm like, it would suck to have like the first show like all the tape loops back. I'm like, well, there's all the new songs I was going to play.
See, that's the thing. It's like the difference between playing shows and doing a tour. Like,
yes.
if you're just doing some shows, it's like, all right, so that show, it just didn't happen, you know? Yeah. But a tour, like, there's different expectations.
Yeah. I'm trying to prepare myself for, like, knowing that, like, shit can happen on tour. Like, I want to, like, be able to, like, pivot quickly or like, throw in a backup or something. Like in my setup, too, now I have my OP1, and I, like, and I'm using that, and, like, that has a lot of, like little loops that I'm using on that too.
Well, tape loops, basically. I mean, yeah, it's the
sure that like that the OP1's good. I keep that charged.
Yeah.
If something happens to my OP1, maybe I need to back up those sounds onto tape just in case.
I think they're pretty solid, though. I think those devices. I have had mine crash before when I've been trying to give it MIDI, like have it respond to MIDI, but I don't think, as long as you're charged, you're probably good.
I think it's gonna be fine. I just like I'm getting like trying to get prepared for like anything can happen on tour. Like my whole suitcase to fail.
Right. Yeah. All the redundancies. That's the next level thing. That's this level of.
Well, my Tascam, 414 breaks on tour. I can't go to a Radio Shack. I mean, there's not even Radio Shacks. I don't even know. I can't go somewhere and buy one real quick.
Are you bringing a backup tape deck?
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Do I bring up? I mean, I have backup because of that very idea of just like, what happens when your shit breaks? Especially like 4-track. What happens when that breaks? Like, I have backups to the 4-tracks I use because I know that I'm not going to stop using them, and so I need to like. It's like, anything else, like having a backup guitar or something, making sure that...
these are the challenges of such a unique musical approach and procedural approach that you have. Your stuff, they're one of a kinds. Everything in a way is almost like one of a kind. It's almost like, who's that guy? Not Harry Parch. Who was it? Who's the instrument maker that makes all these really wild instruments? I don't know if he's still living. That's a really vague question, but there's somebody that makes all these instruments, and it's like him. It's if you were to try to tour with that stuff, it's like you can't just go to Guitar Center and like I used to when I was in New York. I used to play at SOBs. I was in the house band at SOBs, and we would do all these showcases and stuff. And during one of them, my guitar I was using. Don't hate on me, but I played a Parker Fly guitar. Because it had like perfect intonation.
And that's not.
And it broke.
It broke.
The electronics in it went to shit, and I literally went to Guitar Center and bought a Strat before that night. We'd always have our rehearsals in the same day. Like you rehearse with all the artists that are coming through for the showcase. During sound check time in the day, and then at night you play. And so in that interim, like during dinner, I went and bought a guitar at Guitar Center knowing like I could return this right afterwards, like if I need to, and used it for the set and loved it so much. The neck was like a V neck, a V-shaped neck. So it had a lot of like, it was easier than the super thin Parker Fly neck. And so I fixed the Parker Fly, got it fixed, sold it, and had that Strat for a good long while. It was awesome. But so somebody asks here, have you learned to repair tape machines, like belts and stuff?
By necessity. I mean, just having to, I've always had a curiosity in like taking things apart, like at a young age of like trying to like fix things and like soldering and stuff, and like I'm nowhere near like an electronic master. I don't there's a lot of people really good at like building things and fixing things. I'm a very amateur of like like open it up and like poke around and like I think I can fix this.
Yeah, right. Oh look, that thing's disconnected. It's probably supposed to be here.
People ask me like, can you like fix my 4-track? I'm like, no. Like I can.
Not making a business out of it. Yeah.
I mean, I have like a guy in Portland that I send them to, and I usually refer people to him because, he knows what he's doing, and like I don't. Like I'm fudging my way through it and trying to figure it out, and I'm no expert.
That's how I am with websites. I could build one for myself if I have to, but I don't do it. for a living. You have, however, actually.
Yeah,
I don't want to get off topic with websites though, but
yeah.
But that I do think about how like things like Squarespace have totally changed my life, where I don't really have to even think about WordPress anymore and building things. But okay, let's make it through. I bet we have a lot more questions here, so I'm going to keep moving through. What do we have? Here we go. So Cohen says, how do you approach the length of a piece? Do you look at the clock, so to speak, or do you just let it evolve and make its thing? Let's approach that question in terms of live. I'm curious right now to hear when you play live, because I know you have a clock inside of your suitcase, and so when you're playing live, it can be hard to know like your experience of time changes. It like something happens to time when you're like in front of people and all that. So how do you approach time in those kind of ways?
I have found over the years that like when I'm like the way I like, okay, like I have the 2 tape loops in the suitcase of drone with my guitar, and I'm playing through something and I'm playing all my parts, and like I found that like my natural like rhythm and arc of stuff, like it comes out and I'm like, it's always like 9 minutes. Okay. And I'm like, I feel like I hit like this weird 7 to 10 minute, most 9 minute mark. And it's weird because I like hit that and I'm like, oh, another 9 minute song or whatever. Okay. So I like have to, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to write shorter songs necessarily, unless certain releases require that, or like I'm doing a split or I'm contributing a track to a compilation or something where it's like, you got to hit the, 3 minute mark.
Yeah.
3 minutes, like, sure, that's like nothing.
That means different song structure, right?
Yeah,
in that case.
Yeah. So like so when there's time restrictions, sure, I approach it differently. But like normally, what comes out is like this like longer form piece. And when I'm playing live, especially, I feel that rhythm. That I usually am like rounding out songs at like 10 minutes, and like so I kind of treat my live sets like, as I'm preparing for this tour, I know that like they're like, you have 30 minutes as the opener. I'm like, okay. So for me, I'm like, that's 3 songs.
3 songs and a thing, right?
Right?
3 songs and something.
Right. And like I used to try to like cram more in. I was like, oh, I can play 4 songs. Well, like all I do is like rush through 4 songs instead of just like playing that how I would do 3 songs, because I arbitrarily thought that like, oh, I need to play more songs. I'm like, no one really even knows.
No one's counting. It's the experience.
It's counting, and no one's like, oh, Amulets didn't play that 1 song, because they're like, I don't know. Like I also know my songs are like, they're like amorphous blobs of experience that you like listen to, and they like have, high parts and low parts, and like in the live setting, I don't think anyone's like, this one track is my favorite song ever.
It's the journey, it's the vibe, right? You just want to get to the place. It doesn't matter how many, and you want to get to that place at least a couple times, or probably a few times, or 3 times in this case.
Songs like they like I crossfade everything and like have nice transitions between every song. So and I work on that a lot. So it's not even that people would notice that like one song switched into another song.
Yeah.
So it's like less about songs. And I used to be more obsessed with like the songs of like, I have to have this many songs in it. But I'm like, it's thinking traditionally like a band. Like, oh, our set's got to be like 10 songs. Like my set has to be 30 minutes. And that's what I try to like.
Your songs are movements.
Yes,
that's how I approach my thing. It's definitely everything's just movements. Like a live set, I want it pretty much to all flow, but sometimes I want there to be silence between movements, But yeah, I don't think of it as like song and hey, thanks. Another one, song and I can't play like that, like because it's hard to start again.
Some people clap at the end of like I'm like finish the song, they clap, and then I'm like I never want like from the beginning I was always like I'm gonna just do these movements and just try to like.
It can be helpful to design, and I'm starting to learn this a little bit. I haven't been playing much live the last year, though. But designing experiences for people to know when something is over and to enjoy it and to, So it's making that abrupt break, not having everything just flow and be nebulous, because then people want to participate. People want to tell you that they enjoyed it. So if you can build and cut and it's exciting, and then come in with something afterwards, like that gives everybody a chance to be like, yes, because that's part of a live show, is like expressing that you're enjoying the thing that just happened, and so having these edges, having these sharp edges can do that. So yeah.
I think that a lot about that as when I'm designing my live set and experience of like, as one person, like how do you create those emotional impacts, those moments that are like, really intense, or like you have those, crescendos, and you climb up to something and like make something that much larger with one person, tapes and like pedals. It's like, it's a constant stacking and removing and like flowing into different parts to try to make something feel larger and feel like there's moments, like a band would have like a drop where you're like, wow, this part's really intense. Like, how do I do that? Not only without drums, without cymbals.
Yes.
That's one person with this much equipment.
Yep.
And so it's like rethinking that approach of like, how do you make it intense? How do you make something larger?
Dynamics, density, thinking of all of these things and making an experience. I used to just go, I'm just gonna improvise, but you'll fall into your own patterns. My own pattern before was just the big arc. It always just became the build and then the down to the nebulous and then the build. It became a big sine wave, and that's not that fun over and over and over again. Like, you want some dynamics in that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, that's interesting. What do you use to cover your erase head?
So I use just a small piece of masking tape.
Yeah.
And so I like masking tape just because or whatever tape that doesn't have a lot of like tack on it, like a lot of stickiness, like a painter's tape or something that you can cover over your erase head and you're not going to like gunk it up or ruin it.
Right.
I know people have used, like a little piece of tape over the tape itself. So you put that over the erase head so you're not putting tape on the erase head. And then I know like Heimbach uses like a little piece of aluminum foil around the erase head.
Okay.
So there's different approaches.
I can imagine the foil might start to degrade the tape itself, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
but it is non-magnetic, and so that makes sense.
Right. So it doesn't, put the, it would like eliminates the magnet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like just like the small piece of masking tape over the erase head myself.
Very cool. What else do we have here?
I was gonna say, someone asked me someone said something about a shirt. It's like, why don't you put that design on a shirt?
And you have put that design on a shirt. I don't have a good example of it, but I have the wavy version that I made because.
Go to my Bandcamp. I have a 414 amulet shirt.
Here, let's do that. So amulets.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, there you go.
I just put that up, and now it's on the screen. Head over there. It's a cool shirt. Randall gave me that shirt when I did that. Well, here's me wearing the shirt, actually.
You did wear the shirt. That's funny.
Here's me wearing the shirt, and it disappeared afterwards. Wherever I was staying, I was about to leave, and I remember putting it in the laundry. I could have sworn it went in, and so either it's like...
So I have to send you another one.
Maybe so. Yeah, please. Right, thank you. Right. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just remembered not only that, I had that amulet sticker that has been in many of my videos, many of my live videos. It's like on my case. I do like that. It has since fallen off the case. I think it got ground off because it was around the rounded part.
Send you another shirt.
Send me a sticker too. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's see what else. I don't want to miss. I'm going to scroll way back up. We have a lot of. I think we still have a lot of questions in here. Okay, so that was that. A few things of people saying how Scott Campbell modded their things. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Carl was like, got to get that Amulets 414 graphic on a shirt.
Okay, Hey, I just got a notification that someone bought the shirt. So good job, guys.
Yeah.
That was real fast.
Yeah, it was. Right. There's a trim pot if you take off the bottom of the Marantz. Oh yeah, Scott, thank you. I use that trim. Oh, there's a trim pot. Now I know what you mean. No, I didn't realize. I was using the knob. I can take the bottom off and fix that. Yes! Thank you, Scott.
We're all learning. We're all learning. This is great.
All right, what else do we have here? Our Benny sold his Zoya. Good to know. I left my Zoya in El Segundo. Yeah. Do you remember I left my wallet in El Segundo?
No.
That's an old one. Okay, so
Is Benny referring to? Is Austin talking about that Juggalos video? Or that
I'm not even there yet.
With the magnets, like how do they work?
Oh, here.
If you are referencing the Insane Clown Posse, good
3
job,
songs and a baby. That?
No, the magnets. What are those?
Oh, magnets. What are those? Okay, yeah. All right. So where else do we? What I know we've got more. Let me scroll back up. Oh yeah. When's the next Lightbath Amulets collab? Not before the next Lightbath Arbeni collab. I'll say that for sure, because Amulets and I already have this thing, and it's probably not going to happen for some time. But hopefully, I'll be living on the West Coast at some point, and we'll be a lot closer and can do it again, because it's way more fun to do it in person. Granted, I'm sure we could do it the other way too.
West Coast, hang out.
All right, what do we have? Scott Campbell has started recording his tape loops into his ER301 because he's a cheater. Yeah, right. In other words, just having a digital device that is a recording of all of your analog stuff. Would you ever do that? Would you ever like have a setup where you're not losing? Let's say you were okay. Let's say this. You finish this tour with "This Will Destroy You," and it totally just launches Amulets into the stratosphere, and you start playing big shows like regularly. Okay.
Sure.
Is it just? It's probably more. It would behoove you to just digitally record all of this studio process and have it ready to be played that way. Would you do that, or will you stay an analog purist to the end? How do you feel at this point?
I don't think I would do it.
Yeah?
I think I would just I'll just gamble. I'll take the risk. I'll try it.
Wow.
You know? Like I think that you could always have, I guess maybe as a backup, as a last resort, sure. But I don't think I would perform with it because it wouldn't be the same. I don't think it wouldn't be me. It would be
Ooh.
Version of me that I would
your digital avatar.
Yeah, try to do to be safer or whatever. I don't know.
Wow. Well, speaking of that, here's a question. How much of your records are edited in a DAW versus the 2-tape setup? So
this last record, I dabbled a bit more in multi-tracking. So I would do the 2-tape setups and record those drones and those parts, and then for more editing sake, or mixing sake, I would record the guitar separately. Before it was all just one track.
Yeah.
And it was,
well, 2 track. Oh, well, 1 stereo track. Yeah.
One stereo track, and I'm sounds good. I don't know. It didn't really
commitment.
Yeah, I would just go for it. And I think the first 5 or 6 Amulets releases are just those. And so I just was I don't know.
It sure makes mixing easy.
Yeah. And
actually, it makes mixing difficult if you do mixing the way I do, because then I end up automating EQ to try to bring certain resonant frequencies down this actually makes it harder. But yeah.
I just, for me, for a long time, I was in a DAW for a long time, like we all are. And I would have all of these tracks, and I would endlessly tweak them, and I would never finish them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't output anything that I liked.
Yes.
And so I had on music, and I hated that. And I hated that I was creating something, and I just was getting in my own way. So for this, when I started Amulets and wanted to really put myself out there, put music out there, I just decided that I'm going to try this, this single, output approach and try to release more things. And I really wanted to release more music. And then, so that was the whole strategy behind that. Whether that was a good strategy or not, I did it and I committed to it. And now I'm working more as a in between of I still have some tracks, but even this last record, I kind of treated it like a multi-track recorder, a 4-track, in that I was I'm gonna give myself 4 tracks.
Yeah.
I don't do more.
Except there's stereo tracks again here, so
right.
That's
So there's 4 tracks max, maybe 5 on a track, but even then it's like there's still the same things, like feeding the computer like my tape loop stuff, guitar part, and maybe like a little synth part that goes over it. But then that's about it. And so the amount of editing that goes into that is not much, because I don't really want to edit that much.
Yeah.
I'll like cue some stuff. I'll add some like reverb, maybe some compression. But beyond that, I don't really know what I'm doing either. So I know what I'm doing outside of a computer, but like inside, like mixing, like I'm no mixing engineer.
Yeah.
I know some basic shit that I like try to do, but like
this is my same feeling with trying to make pieces in Ableton before I discovered modular, and just layering and tweaking and never finishing anything, then discovering modular, and then only outputting so many stereo outputs to the DAW, recording it, and then just basically mixing it, doing some compression and some EQ, and that's it. And maybe some fades, maybe cutting out tiny little things. And it made it so much easier just to make something and be done with it, where each track is like, there's so much more happening inside of that track. It's not just like, here's one little element. Like the way of working with a DAW when you have 1,000 tracks, you know, one track could just be this one little thing that happens, you know, and it's each track for me is like a voice, and that's what it sounds like, you know, you're kind of getting at here. It's its own entity. It's like a band member. Yeah, there's definitely like more multi-tracking that I'm getting into, but I still don't want it to ever be like where I just rely on the computer to like make the songs. Like I'd rather feed everything else into it and then like just kind of mix it together. But yeah. So somebody was asking about any mastering tips. Probably neither of us are good to ask that. I did master Selected Public Works, and I studied a little bit going into it and tried to learn things. And again, that's what totally messed up my my health. It pushed me over the edge. So, you know, I know a little bit, but like, I think at this point in hindsight, I sort of wish I would have just sent it all to somebody and just paid the money. So I think my mastering tips might be, find somebody who can do it and give your music to them. Yeah, I agree with that tip, because for the longest time, that in the same way that I would record all my tracks into the computer, I had like this mastering file that I would use. And it was just like this like hard compressor that made it a lot louder. Yeah, a loudness maker, a loud maximizer. Master it, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah. And so all of my tracks were like that for a long time. And this last record, the label helped and paid someone to master it. Yeah. And it was amazing to hear my songs like really mastered by someone who knows what they're doing. And that would definitely be my suggestion too, is find someone who knows what they're doing and get it mastered. Like, I so look forward to that. The thing that I'm working on now, the studio thing that I'm working on now, that who knows when it'll actually, you know, be finished and come out, to have that stuff. I want to have somebody like for real do it, you know, and I look forward to hearing my stuff that way, because everybody I know who has gotten their stuff mastered seriously by some really serious mastering engineers, they get it back and they're just like, it sounds like something else. Yeah. Like, so yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, looks like Carl Sadler had to take off a little while ago. Thanks for hopping on, Carl. What do we have? All right. Austin saying I'm going to open for Billie Eilish. That'd be cool. Sure. No. The next level. I mean, Billie Eilish is cool, though. She's got some good songs. Oh, here we go. Austin was saying, what are your favorite and least favorite shows you've played so far? Man, honestly, like, some of my favorite shows have been just, like, I don't know, shows that, like, there's a space in Fayetteville, Arkansas that is, like, it's like a DIY space and like in a college town, and it very much felt like a space that I would have grown up going to, or like have been to many times in my life, seeing other bands. And it's one of my favorite spaces just because like the community around it, like people just being really into like bands coming through and being supportive. And like, I remember on like one of my first tours, like going out there and having people be really like amped about my set and be like, this was really cool. And there was a kid who was like, he was just like he was so into it, and he like bought a tape and he asked me to sign it, and I was like, I've never signed anything, and it was like a weird moment of being like, this is bizarre, but he like believed in me. I don't know, it was like a nice show of just like
of really just like the people, of like good people. Like I played like bigger shows, but like it's not really about like crowd size, either. It's like, okay, cool. Like I played a huge show with this will show you, sure, but it was also like terrifying because it was a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like I think it's just some of my favorite shows have been like smaller shows where people are really into it, even if there's not that many people. They're really into it, or you converted people and you made them a fan. They're like, I don't know who you are, and now I'm into it, and that's really cool.
Vibe. Yeah, that's great. Oh man, yeah. Like for me, I had played not my own music, but when I was playing like, in for other people, I had played some like theaters and stuff, some like larger theaters, and still I think one of my favorite shows was like Modular on the Spot LA, because like so many people that I like knew from the internet were there.
Yeah.
And it was such a family vibe, and it just felt so good. So yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at. All right, so let's see.
I mean, I recently played Velocity Fest in Seattle, and like I got to hang out with Austin.
Austin was there.
Austin was there, and Annie was there.
Yep.
I got to hang out with Eli.
Yeah.
And like I got to and meet a bunch of other people, but it was such like a family vibe, and like the same way of like, oh, people from the internet I know are here, but also people I know in real life are here, and it was just like a nice community aspect where I like, got to like talk to people that I really admire and respect, and also got to talk to people who are like talking to me about how they like admire and respect me. Like, okay, cool, this is all great. Like, I don't know. And then Austin and I, we got drunk and hung out. It was great. It's cool.
Wait a minute, Scott Sheffield says, "Lol, that was me. What was you?"
Oh, I think he bought the shirt.
Oh, that was you who bought the shirt just now. Okay. Wow, I'm far behind. I need to scroll way down here then. All right, let's. I'll move forward with this. What do we have here? Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, here we go. What's this? I felt like the newest record sounded more like it had extra multi-tracking. Yep, there you go. Cool.
It did.
What do we have here? With the new album, did everything you worked on make the album? Oh yeah, did any material end up on the cutting room floor?
So like I was saying before, like a lot of my records before, or like my early records, like I would just kind of like, hit record a bunch of songs, like, cool, I got a release. With this release, I really wanted to take more time, which I did, but I recorded like a bunch of songs, and I was like, oh, I'm going to treat this like a record that I want to, like, not over record, but like have options with.
Yeah.
And so I did record a lot of songs for it, and then, or like extra songs, and like kind of like pared it down and like picked the songs that I like the most. And so, yeah, I mean, there are like 3 extra songs that didn't make the cut, and those were released as like a bonus tape, like B-sides tape with the initial vinyl release. So there are copies floating around of like this B-sides tape.
I don't think I got that. I don't think I made it to that one. Yeah, I don't think I made it in time for that.
I also like posted them to like like they're on my Patreon page for like patrons and stuff too.
That's a good move. Yeah. I dig it.
Bonus tracks, yeah.
Actually, it looks like we did make it through most of the questions. If anybody, if I didn't answer anybody who had some serious questions, post it again now. Because in my scrolling up and down, I may have missed something. But otherwise, hey, we're actually coming up on 2 hours here, so we've had a plenty. This has been longer than I thought we'd go on this. It's been good fun. Our Benny does have the tape. Oh, nice. I wonder if
Austin, you have the B-sides tape. Come on, man.
I don't think I do. Now I'm somehow thinking I did, but no. I think the only tape vinyl combo that I had was the Arbeni one, the little tape loop thing. That Dow.
Yeah, how do you say it? Dow?
Well, when I was talking with Peter, he said Dow. Kind of like that, but like Dow. Like there's a little bit of a O, but it's more on the O side. But this is just me hearing him say it over. We just like Skyped once, and that was me hearing him say it then. So, but I think it's more of just an accent thing, and I think you could totally Americanize it and call it Dow.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like what they do, so that's. No, thanks, Austin. He said.
Yeah. Then Austin says this. How do you say it? Dow. He just typed it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this was a lot of fun. It was just as much fun as it was making that track with you. It wasn't as long as making that track. We probably spent, I don't remember, like 8 hours or something total with like setting up and tearing down. So, and I wish you, but I'm sure everyone here does too, wish you so well on this tour.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's such a thing to celebrate this
For
next
sure.
level.
I'm feeling real pumped. I feel like it's a real honor. It's a real treat. It's like surreal to be like, I don't know, considered for like this job. Like, cool. Like, I got a cool gig coming up. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm wishing you well in all of your endeavors. I look forward to the next time that we speak, and then the next time that we speak with music too. So I'm sure there will be something in the future where we do it again. Somebody asked earlier. I just don't know when. So, but I don't know when.
Come on to West. Just move out here. You'll be fine.
Exactly. I think that's, like I said earlier, I think that's going to happen first. I think we'll be in the closer location first before that happens. Well, everybody, this is your last chance for a question. I will give you to the count of 10, and then I will count to 10 again for the latency, and otherwise we will close. I'm going to put the music on in the meantime. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 10, 9, 8. Wait, say again.
I don't know. I don't know, dude. What do you eat? A sandwich.
Oh yeah, what should I have for lunch? Yeah. Food. So here we are. Thank you again, Randall Taylor, Amulets, hanging in the Lightbath zone. Catch you on the flip side.
All right. Thanks so much.